Giants training camp practice in the books. I'm Brendan London here with longtime Giants beat writer Paul Schwartz. Hot day out here, a little muggy, Paul. Day 2 action. Before I get to the who and the what you're going to write about, what did you think overall about practice?
Well, overall, I would say that I have not broken out my Crocodile Dundee camp hat, so the weather has been okay.
So it's not camp yet then. We're not in the dog days.
It's camp, but it's definitely not 95 degrees, so we're okay. As far as, first day, you see Jermaine Eluemunor, who's starting at right tackle, and he goes down, and you go, oh, but here we go again.
Yes.
And then it's not a major injury. He got a little bit of bruised ribs, and you know what that tells you? It tells you stay away from Dexter Lawrence at all costs, because Dexter Lawrence, puts his body into Jermaine Eluemunor, who is a big dude, and there's nobody bigger than Dexter Lawrence, and that's the end of that. So good lesson. Stay away from Dexter Lawrence, Eluemunor will be fine, and that's a good thing. You can't start camp with an injury like that. You just can't.
Nah, Giants definitely dodged the bullet on that one. That gives them a chance, though, to kind of get a look at some of the younger guys and some guys that they can kind of move and what they can do. But you don't want to do that right now, especially with the history of the Giants' offensive line kind of being banged up. All right, practice done. Who and what are you going to write about, and what stood out to you? We'll start with the offense.
The offense. Well, I'm going to write about it is noticeable, and we were talking about this earlier. There is a lot more motion in the Giants' offense. It's a lot more, and I don't think it's just the first 2 days of camp. Brian Daboll, it's like you have to walk before you can run, right? And then you have to run before you can fly. Now, the Giants' offense in 2 years has definitely not flown. We know that, but they got to get past the walking stage. They just have to. And Brian Daboll said it today. You install, you can do a little more, when guys are more comfortable. So there's a lot more motion. Wan'Dale Robinson, he may catch 100 passes after the first 2 days of camp from what you see. They got to be productive passes, and the defense is more challenged now on the Giants' defensive side of the ball to deal with this motion. The safety has got to point it out. It tells the offense what they're in defensively. So, look, they have to pick it up. They have to give Daniel Jones more opportunities to succeed, and this motion should help.
Yeah, you saw Wan'Dale Robinson with a lot of what we call orbit motions going behind the quarterback. You saw him with a lot of BTL, block behind the line type passes, screens, bubbles, that sort of thing. And like you said, yes, he's going to catch a lot of those balls. And being the shifty type yak receiver that he is, he's expected to make a guy miss, get up the field. I think one thing that stood out to me, and I wasn't at the first practice, but I obviously saw it online, and then he scores again today. Lawrence Cager. Number 83, Lawrence Cager, I believe, and I told you, that's my tight end one this year. I love Daniel Bellinger and how he can catch the football, but I think that Cage offers a little bit more in terms of the mismatch. So when you see different fly motions, jet motions, orbit motions, to kind of identify what that defense is in, he is a one-on-one matchup if you can get him matched up against a linebacker or safety.
True. I mean, at this point, I would say he's the best pass-catching tight end on the roster. But when we talk about that motion, someone's got to, the edge has to be secured for Wan'Dale. And so is that Lawrence Cager? Is that Daniel Bellinger? Is that massive Theo Johnson when he gets back from a hip flexor? So I see what you're saying, but I think there's going to be a lot of 3 receiver sets, and it depends on what they want. But yeah, Cager got free in the end zone. I think he's a natural pass catcher.
Yes,
he kind of looks like a tweener, right? Yes. He looks like a big receiver, more, lean tight end. So I can see it. I think he'll be on the team. We'll see. You know what I mean? I mean, Bellinger, I still think there's more there. And, Theo Johnson, I think, can be a red zone threat, but he's got to get on the field.
Well, day one, everyone was talking about or complaining about the lack of balls not thrown down the field. Daniel Jones and Jalen Hyatt hooked up with the deep touchdown. They're expecting Jalen Hyatt to not only put a touchdown on the board, but take the top up off this defense as well. Let's flip it over or riverside it, like they say. Let's go defensively. What and who stood out to you?
I mean, I wouldn't say Deonte Banks stood out to me, but the matchup with Malik Neighbors stood out to me. And that's, I don't like the old iron sharpens iron phrase, but I know you and your coaching background with your father, they always say that, right?
Iron sharpens iron, Paul. It's just it's physics.
Yes, like you and me, right? Yeah. Iron sharpens iron, right? I get it. But that matchup was great to watch in one-on-ones. What do you call that one he made in the one-on-ones? It was like a back shoulder leaping, right?
Back shoulder fade, yeah.
But it was, the ball was behind him. It was way behind him. It was a tremendous catch, and Neighbors comes down with it, corner of the end zone, comes down, and he lets Deonte Banks know. He just lets him know about it. So that's good. And we asked Banks about it afterwards, and he's like, yeah, whatever. We're just competing. Banks doesn't care. Those two guys, the Giants hope are going to be here for the next decade. Yeah. So let them compete and battle. Otherwise, defensively, I think it's a work in progress with this defense. It's a new scheme. Yes. Shane Bowen's scheme is new. I know you talked to Nick McLeod. Yep. They have to. They're facing the quarterback more. And there's a whole lot of adjusting that has to go into that. I think it could help. I talked to Micah McFadden. The really interesting inside linebacker who really had a terrific year last year. He really did. I think now with Bobby Okereke and Micah McFadden, you can legitimately say the Giants have two inside linebackers. You can go out there and start, and you don't worry about them. But Micah McFadden was saying that a lot of what he does is the same, but a lot of what's going on around him is different, and they all got to be on the same page with that.
To go back to Banks and Neighbors, it just hit me on what it was called. It's called the number 6 pick of the draft, doing what the number 6 pick of the draft is supposed to do. And again, I say it to you all the time, Paul. This offense needs that. He had another he dropped a touchdown as well, but he scored on a slant as well. They need that guy that can put that ball in the end zone, so you don't have to get 3, you get 6.
And there was one play where Daniel Jones, faked an inside handoff and then ran, and some fan yelled, "Don't run the ball. Yeah. We got to be better these years. Don't run the ball." But on one play, you notice when the pocket was broken, it was not a designed running play, and Daniel was coming right towards us to turn the corner, and Bobby Okereke was running right at him. And that was a really good test of Daniel's surgically repaired right ACL, right? Daniel got past him. Daniel got past him. That's a good sign. I agree with the fan that Daniel Jones has got to, calm down a little bit with the running, but he has to be tested here. And the first 2 days, I think he looks good moving around, don't you?
He looks great moving around and being able, like you said, play against a defense that's flying around, hitting their fits. I know it's hard right now to kind of evaluate offensive line versus defensive line because they're just in helmets and hockey pads. We call those shells. But to talk about what I was speaking on with Nick McLeod, he says from the defensive standpoint, they like playing with the eyes on the ball, eyes on the quarterback. And it was no knock to Wink Martindale and his defensive scheme because he said they're also going to play some man as well. But you see what they're doing with the corners. You got Cordell Flott on the outside. Darnay Holmes is playing on the outside. Nick McLeod was in the inside today. They're mixing and matching and rotating to see who's going to be the best fit in this Giants defensive secondary. Right now, Deonte Banks is getting great reps against Neighbors, who is a CeeDee Lamb, scary Terry McLaurin type receiver. So we're seeing that matchup of what could be an NFC East battle. But we're seeing, I hate to be cliche, Paul, but we are seeing iron sharpen iron. Final thought to wrap us up on day 2, Paul.
Like I said, the first day was a downer with that possible injury. That's gone. What I'm waiting for Evan Neal. That's what I'm waiting. We're all waiting for. I don't think he's far away. I don't think he's another 2 weeks away. I think he's less than that away. And then, because the one thing this year, what Brian Daboll said they're going to do differently. Last year, remember, almost team period, snap by snap. This guy's the left tackle. Not Andrew Thomas was the left tackle, but they move guys in all over the place, right? Left guard, right guard. Today he's playing here, tomorrow he's playing here, and they wanted to just kind of figure it out. Now Daboll said the sooner we get to 5 guys, the better. We don't want to do all this experimentation. So, Josh Azudu was playing right tackle today because Eluemunor couldn't. They still want Eluemunor to be the starting left guard, and they want Evan Neal to be the starting right tackle. But here's the big but with this, is that if Evan Neal does not come back from injury and prove he is better than Eluemunor, they will not move Eluemunor out of there. That's with the 7th pick in the draft. He has no more scholarship. He had his 2 years of scholarship. He has not played well. He's got to get on the field. He's got to compete for it. They're not just going to say, well, put him back at right tackle because he's the number 7 pick in the draft 2 years ago. He's got to beat him out. And Eluemunor started every game for the Raiders last year at right tackle. So he's going to not only have to be healthy, Evan Neal's going to have to come and play well. And, that's what we need to see as camp evolves.
Waiting for Evan Neal sounds like a Netflix rom-com, but it is a New York Giant football love story. We're going to have more of these recaps for you guys throughout training camp, and we're going to have a training camp special Blue Rush episode for you. But for now, keep staying locked in to Paul's articles, and thanks for watching.